Welcome back, welcome back. I am the Rolling Stoner here today with a few tips on how to clean your peak. So a lot of us know that this is not the cheapest investment, right? So it's important that we keep it clean and keep it functioning, at its best. So today I want to kind of go over a few tips that I like to do when cleaning my peak. First and foremost, let's talk about alcohol. One of the most important parts of cleaning this device is having isopropyl alcohol. What's recommended is 99%, but that's not always available locally. A lot of times in drugstores, you'll see 91% and 70%. Some people have used these as alternatives. I personally have used 91% as an alternative, and it works just fine. The problem that I've found with 70%, when I'm doing my cleaning for this device, I like to heat up my alcohol, warm it up in a microwave. And because alcohol has a lower boiling point than water, you wind up evaporating a good amount of the alcohol out of the 70%. What's good about 91% is that this is an azeotrope, meaning that the alcohol molecules are actually bonded to the 9 or 10% water molecules. So when heating this alcohol, some of it will evaporate during heating, but it doesn't change the concentration of alcohol in the mixture. So you still have 91% alcohol at the end of the heating, or during the distillation process, which is heating it up, letting it evaporate some. So so as an alternative to 99%, if you don't have that available, 91% is a good alternative that'll work just fine. I do not recommend using 70% at all, as that water content can damage your atomizer and your peak, and we don't want that. Materials for cleaning. What you'll want to have on hand is some Q-tips. I use just the regular Q-tip brand Q-tips because they're pretty inexpensive, and the really inexpensive ones, the Q-tip cotton kind of comes off a little bit when I'm cleaning, and when you're dealing with sticky resin, you get stuff that sticks to your peak. These don't have as much. You can also get higher quality Q-tips. I usually use those for when I'm actually using my device to keep the fuzzies out, but I don't use those for cleaning because I just go through them and they kind of cost some money. So Q-tips work just fine. You also want to have a few paper towels handy and a small container with some isopropyl alcohol, again 91% or 99%. And I usually heat this up. A container like this, I would usually put in a microwave for maybe 30 seconds, maybe a little less, maybe 20 seconds, until it starts to boil just a little bit, then I take it out. All right, I've collected all my materials and I've just heated up my alcohol, so now I'm ready to get started. When it comes to cleaning the atomizers, they're pretty straightforward, but there are a few slight differences. With the Pro atomizer, so this is a Pro 3D chamber, but it's the same for the stock atomizers that come with it. One thing that you'll want to remember is that the alcohol will start to break down the silicone, so you don't want to soak your silicone parts. Instead, as you take this apart, you can pop the glass piece out of the oculus, drop that in there in your heated alcohol, and then this, which also has residue on it, you don't want to soak it in there. Instead, take some tweezers, dip it in there a little bit. The warm alcohol will start to break off, it will start to melt down the resin that's on there, and you can just take it and just immediately just wipe it off with a paper towel. And this will take off any residue that's on there without breaking down the silicone structure. You want to just clean it out really good, and then that you can set to the side. Same thing with the rubber jacket. You can simply take that, dip it in the warm alcohol for a little bit, and then just rub that down with a paper towel, like so. Make sure you get everything off. You want to kind of get underneath here. There's a little lip right there. You'll get some buildup in there as well. You want to just give it a good cleaning, and then you'll feel that it's just not sticky anymore. if there's any resin on there, you'll start to feel some stickiness, and you can set that off to the side as well. Then with the rest of the atomizer, I have a pearl in mine. That's fine, that can soak as well. This you can just drop in there to soak. If you do own a 3D chamber, you'll notice that with it came a little card that said not to clean this with alcohol while it's hot. So I know I do heat up my alcohol, but it's not a high enough temperature where it would affect the atomizer's coating or anything. So it's safe to be in warm alcohol. You just let that soak a little bit. You'll see the resin already kind of started to melt out of the atomizer. It's coming out and turning out the alcohol, the color of the resin. The pearl fell out. That was kind of stuck in the bottom to the resin, so that melted away pretty quickly and broke that down. So you'll just want to leave that to soak for a little bit. Now, if you are using an OG atomizer, there's a little more to it. The Pro atomizers, both the 3D chamber and the original one, are sealed chambers, so you can't take them apart for cleaning. But the OG atomizers come apart. So this, again, this silicone O-ring, you don't want to put in there. So you want to break this down, take your insert out. Sometimes what I have noticed after not cleaning this for a while is that the insert might give a little resistance. Whatever you do, don't pull it out. What you want to do is screw your insert, screw your atomizer back onto your peak, leave it open like this, start the lowest heat cycle, and before it buzzes that it's ready, just let it heat up a little bit. Take some tweezers, some ceramic tweezers that can handle the heat, and you'll want to just kind of wiggle this until it comes off. If it gives you resistance, what that means is resin has seeped under the bowl and is basically glued the bowl to the heating element. And if you pull this out without heating it, you'll actually wind up sometimes pulling out the wires down here, which will then make your atomizer not work. So this has been a problem that I've had when I first got a peak, and this is what made me start fixing atomizers, because I kept destroying them when I was cleaning them because of this. Anyway, once you've gotten that out, you can drop your insert into the alcohol as well to soak. You can also drop this ceramic top ring into the alcohol to soak as well. And just like we did with the Pro jacket, we'll take this with our Q-tip, or with our tweezers, sorry. Dip it in the alcohol for a little bit, swish it around, and then we'll just paper towel that until it's clean. And we can set that off to the side. Now, if you do have some chasing on your insert, if you have a small torch like this, after you have soaked the insert and gotten all of the residue off, the sticky residue, you can take a torch like this, a mini torch or something larger, and just torch clean your insert until you get rid of any chasing that's on there. Eventually that will go away, and then you want to set this off to dry. You don't want to douse the torched insert into the alcohol, because you can crack the insert essentially. So you want to just set that off to the side to cool off. You can also do the same thing with the ceramic top ring if you need to. As far as your heating element, if you have any residue, any black burnt residue or chas on your heating element, you can still get rid of that. You'll actually just soak your atomizer like this whole. You'll soak that, get rid of any residue that's on there. Let that soak for a little bit, for a few seconds, usually while you clean the rest of the peak. And then once you're ready to take this out, you can let this dry for a little bit off to the side. These actually should both be clean now. They usually say to soak these for 20 minutes but with the heated alcohol, it actually breaks everything down, and it cleans it very quickly. I do have some chasing in there from this 3D chamber. I realize that's probably because of the pearl that I use. That's another thing. If you use pearls in these chambers, you'll start to notice some chasing around the sides. But Nothing you can really do about it. This is one of my older 3D chambers, so I don't really use it for much other than videos anymore, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, so that's ready. Everything in here is pretty much ready. So we can get to actually cleaning the base. But once this is, back to if you have any chas on here, once this is dry, you can pop this on the peak and just run the lowest heat cycle with no insert in it. And you'll see that it actually just heats up and cleans itself. And then you'll wanna just let that cool off before you put an insert in there, because if you put a cold insert in here while it's still hot, it'll wind up just going into thermal shock and cracking, and you'll have another problem. So yeah, that's cleaning atomizers. Now that we've got our atomizers clean and set to the side, we can focus on cleaning our base. Normally, I'll set everything in the alcohol, all the smaller parts, set them to the side, and then I will just use my Q-tips and this same alcohol to start cleaning my base. This way, by the time I'm done with the base, all the smaller components are ready to be taken out and dried. So when it comes to cleaning the base, you'll usually have buildup within here. As you can see, I usually keep my devices pretty clean, so there's not much, but you'll see some buildup right around here where the atomizer touches the silicone. You'll also see some right here in the air path that you'll want to clean. So usually what I do is first I'll take a Q-tip, I'll dip both ends, fold it in half, and you'll see there's a split in the air path. So I'll usually stick both of these in there and let that alcohol kind of warm up and break down whatever's in there, and it absorbs into the Q-tip. While that's sitting there, take my next Q-tip, dip both ends again, take one, kind of do a surface swab, let that start to break down, and then you'll see, because the alcohol is warm, it starts to come off pretty quickly. And we can just go through that. Now, once you've gotten the bulk of the residue out and it's pretty much cleaned, you'll want to take a clean end, one more dip in the alcohol, and you just want to go over your connector right here, the contact, because sometimes you'll get a thin layer of residue that will sit on here and can cause poor connections. With the OG peak, you'll do the same thing inside of the same contact pin. The pin is just a little smaller, but you'll want to get the residue out of the threads, and then take a clean Q-tip and just dry it off. This way you take off any residue that might be sitting inside of the creases, and just dry that up. Then you can pull these out of here. That's everything out of the air path. And take that dry Q-tip that you just used. You just want to dry inside the air path, and see, just take the last bit off of there, and good as new. Now you'll just let the last bit of the alcohol just dry out a little bit, and once you've done that, you can reassemble your peak. And you're good to go. So there you have it. That's how you clean your peak. One thing I didn't cover is how to clean your glass. The reason why I didn't do this is because a lot of people wind up buying aftermarket glasses, so I can't do a video on one type of glass and say it's the best for every type of glass. But typically for my glasses, what I do is I'll heat up a different batch of alcohol and I'll pour it into the glass as if I'm pouring water in there with a little bit of salt, and I'll just cover the hole on the top, cover the hole on the bottom, and I'll just give it a good shake, break everything down, dump it out, get all the alcohol out, use a little bit of dish soap, some mild soap, cover the glass to start to separate any residue that might be on the outside of the glass due to the alcohol coming and running on the outside. And then after that, once you've covered it in a mild soap and it's kind of separated the residue from the surface, you can rinse it off with some hot water. Make sure it's not cold water, because you'll cool any micro layers of residue and you'll just have a sticky glass. So you'll wanna make sure you rinse it off with hot water. This will ensure that the soap can carry all of the residue in its liquid form off of the glass, and you'll have a really clean glass that won't taste like alcohol when you hit it, because sometimes you'll rinse it with just alcohol and you'll have some in there, you'll take a hit and you'll just get a mouthful of alcohol, and that's not pleasant. So enjoy, keep your peaks clean, keep them healthy.